Call the meeting to order.
Of how the City of Nixa conducts City Council meetings. We encourage everyone to attend and participate in City Council meetings. This is part of how democracy works at the local level, listening to the perspectives of subject matter experts, city residents, and other community members helps our elected leaders make more informed decisions. Before we start the meeting, let's review some of Council's rules of order. These rules help us make sure our meetings are orderly and efficient, while protecting the ability of everyone to have an opportunity to speak. Please be respectful of the person speaking and hold your own comments until it is your turn to speak. Presenters are invited by the council to provide information during the meeting to the council. These are informational presentations only, and nothing will be voted on at the time of the presentation. Presenters are not time limited. There are 2 times when all other visitors will be able to speak to council. The first is during the visitors section of the agenda, and the second is during any public hearing regarding an agenda item. During the visitors section, anyone may speak to council about any topic, whereas the public hearings regarding specific agenda items allow you to make comments for council to consider before they make a decision on that topic. Whether you wish to speak during any public hearing or the visitors section, the following rules of order will apply. 1. Only one person should speak at a time. Be respectful of the person speaking and wait to speak until it is your turn. 2. Anyone speaking must do so from the podium and speak into the microphone. 3. You must first state your name and provide your address in writing to the city clerk before beginning your comments. 4. All speakers will be given 5 minutes to make their comments to the council. The mayor or council may have additional questions for speakers after this 5-minute period. 5. All comments should be addressed to the mayor and council. 6. If you have questions about existing city processes, programs, or policies, or if you need assistance from staff on any issue, please contact City Hall during normal business hours and we'll be happy to assist you or answer any questions you may have at that time. The public hearing is designed to provide the public an opportunity to provide testimony and information to the mayor and council regarding the decisions they may be considering. Keep in mind this meeting will be recorded and live streamed with video and audio. Therefore, all comments relevant to this meeting must be spoken into a microphone, otherwise video viewers will not be able to hear you. In the case of a closed session or technical difficulties, some meetings or portions of meetings may not actually be recorded or streamed. The use of cell phones during council meetings is discouraged, so please silence all devices now. Thank you for watching, and thank you for engaging with the City of Nixa. The meeting will begin shortly.
Here.
Darlene Graham.
Here.
Zern Vess.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, would any member of council want to remove anything from the consent agenda? If not, I will accept a motion to approve.
So made. Second.
First by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Lucas. Roll call, please.
Sean Lucas.
Yes.
Aaron Peterson.
Yes.
Darlene Graham.
Yes.
Zern Vess.
Yes.
Kelly Morris.
Yes.
We will start out with service awards. First up is Levi Krim, 5 years. It's a meter reader.
Okay, I have comments from Brian Hawk, his supervisor, who couldn't be here tonight. Levi is a meter reader in our utility billing department. Brian says Levi has been serving the community as a meter reader for the utility billing department since November of 2021. Prior to that, he served as a member of the parks staff as a maintenance technician. Since joining our department, Levi has been hardworking, dedicated, innovative, and creative. One of the qualities I admire most about Levi is he is always looking for ways to help improve processes and find new solutions to problems. He is not afraid to think outside the box and always willing to share his ideas with others. He always has a great attitude and has established a wonderful rapport with his colleagues and within the community. Levi is a valuable asset not only to my team but to the city. I look forward to his continued contributions in the years ahead.
All right. And next up is Scott Honeycutt, 15 years.
Mayor and Council. Scott Honeycutt is one of those employees that it's difficult to say enough good things about him. He's a hard worker. He's dedicated. He started off as a building and grounds person. He has moved up from there to utility worker. He's now actually our heavy equipment operator. Scott's one that he volunteers for overtime, whether it's snow or whether it's assisting other departments. He's been here for 15 years, and I hope he's here at least as long as till I retire. So thank you, Scotty.
And last is Brian Denny, 25 years.
Mayor and Council, good evening. There is a whole lot that I could say about Brian. However, I was told I can only keep to the good stuff, so here we go. Brian's been with the department for 25 years now. He started off as a lineman with the city, working his way up to superintendent for close to 2 decades now as superintendent. Through that time period, he has been involved with Nixa Utilities through a tremendous amount of growth, a high growth period for the Nixa area. And in that time period, he has been instrumental in making Nixa Utilities one of the premier hometown utilities in the state of Missouri. He's had a lot of accomplishments under his belt, including the expansion of the transmission system, providing a second source of power for the city of Nixa, upgrading and rebuilding all 4 substations within the city, installing countless circuit extensions, which looping all major circuits within the city, increasing our reliability. He was instrumental in leading the rebuilding efforts following 2 major ice storms within the last 25 years. Established a mutual aid involvement for the Nixa crews that allows us to participate not only statewide but nationwide, assisting during several hurricanes. And one of the biggest feathers in his cap is since 2014, Nixa Utilities has been a consistent receiver of the RP3 award, which is the Reliable Public Power Provider Award provided by the APPA and MPUA. This is a huge accomplishment. It's hard to do. That we have been able to do it for 9 years running, going from a gold standard to a premier status is just a huge accomplishment, and that is owed a lot to Brian and his leadership, as well as his crew that he has under him. He has built a fantastic crew, and we couldn't be prouder of him.
Now to the fun part, if I could get you guys to meet me over at the Nixa backdrop, I'll give you your award and a picture. Okay, thank you all very much. That's a lot of years just in 3 people. All right, moving on to the visitor section.
Mark Insminger.
Good evening. Mark Insminger. I'm here today as the president of Maplewood Hills Homeowners Association, live just across the street from Century Elementary, and today I want to bring to your attention a concern that we as homeowners have about the child's safety regarding pickup after school from Century Elementary. And really at the end, I'll just be asking the city council to empower a team of people, really from the city, from the school system, possibly even some neighbors, to help come up with a plan, a solution that will help to mitigate what we believe to be a danger for the children before the coming school year. In spring 2022, and this is really just some background information that I think is relevant for the committee to understand, Maplewood Hills HOA members passed a resolution asking the board to seek assistance in monitoring what the concern that we have regarding the parking and the traffic during school pickup across the street from the school at Maplewood Hills subdivision across North Street. It's our opinion that parents who are outside the neighboring neighborhoods are avoiding the school pickup line and parking in that subdivision, and thereby increasing not only the traffic of cars, but also the number of children who are walking across the street. Those who are coming to park in that area, obviously parents are supervising them, but the children in the neighborhoods that walk nearby are not. And so those children are walking home unaccompanied by any adult to supervise them, and we fear that there is a risk of a child running out across the street from behind a car and could end up getting struck because traffic is still flowing there. We believe that there might be some mitigating opportunities that could come from a committee's work to help to make sure that we keep our children safe. To this point, as the HOA, we have expressed concern and requested assistance from the crossing guard, the school resource officer, as well as the school principal. We've been informed that what they're doing already is all that they can do, and there's nothing more that can be done. In June 16 of 22, we sent a letter from the HOA to the police department asking for their intervention, and they have sent squad cars, but they also asked us to reach out to the city, to the public school system. About 2 months later, we sent a letter to the superintendent's office, also asking them for their intervention, and they said there was nothing they could do if people were parked illegally, but they would send a reminder, which they have also done. This is the reason why we are coming now to the city, because the members that we have reached out to have been supportive, understanding, and helpful, but the issue continues. When the school year began last year, the issue remained, even in spite of those things. So additional things have happened by homeowners in our subdivision. They've reached out to the police department again, and more squad cars have been sent. And when the squad cars are there, ready to hand out tickets, the parking changes, and people walk further distances or don't come at all. But once the squad cars leave, then the issues return. Again, this spring, we had a homeowner reach out, and the city has put in no parking signs on the 2 islands in the area, and that has also been very helpful. But people still park, some of them right in front of the no parking signs, because they believe it is only for a few minutes. And yet still, we have children who are unaccompanied and are crossing the streets unsupervised when the traffic is heaviest in that neighborhood. So we are asking for this council to come together and help us find a solution to protect our children. We're thankful for what the city has already done, what the school system has already done, but the problem remains. The school has limits on what they can do. They can't reach across and dictate what parents where they park because it's outside of their realm, and the city can only issue tickets when people are parked illegally. This is why we're coming to the city for a solution. I know you have a lot on your agenda. I know there's a lot of things that the city council has to work with. But I also know that this council is made up of people who love and care for children, and that's why we're believing that coming today to bring this to your attention might help us find a solution so that we don't have to watch the news one night and hear about a child who was struck as they crossed the street because we failed to act. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark.
Joseph Wells.
Evening, council, mayor. I'm one of those people that live in that subdivision, and I myself have almost struck a child in that intersection. I'm here to talk today because something needs to be done before something does happen. Whether it be a cop sitting out there handing out tickets, no more warnings, a school resource officer, or just anything that we can come up with. But I just do not want to see a kid on the news when something could have been done, when people have said something. If you're looking for volunteers, I can volunteer. If you're needing anything, you can contact me. I will help out with this issue. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Carl.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Andrew Carl, and I'm here today, and I'm just so proud to follow the two speakers who came before, who are here to represent the interests of children, because that's going to be the theme of my request to you tonight. Because I'm grateful for the work that you do and your predecessors have done to safeguard the health, safety, welfare, and morality of Nixa. And because of that work, you know, we've lived all across the United States. This is the best place we've ever had the privilege to call home. But I'm not here to sing your praises. I'm here to ask for your engagement, as I believe there are some county policies that endanger the moral welfare of particularly our children in the Christian County libraries. As I'm sure you're aware, there's been a significant amount of emotional debate regarding the content of materials in libraries. And to cut straight to the chase, I will tell you that it's my opinion that there are materials in the Christian County libraries that are completely pornographic with no redeeming literary value. And I brought materials here. I'm not going to read excerpts. I'm not going to publicly show pictures here for grounds of common decency and for the welfare of the children in the audience tonight. But I would offer this to you for you to review and make up your own minds regarding the information that is available to our public, and particularly our youth in the Christian County libraries. To be abundantly clear up front, I'm not here advocating any kind of book banning whatsoever. I think that when we start talking about banning various types of books, we enter a slippery slope that's very gray, and that's not an area that I want to tread on. But I do want to talk about a book rating system here in the Christian County Library to give notice to patrons, particularly children, to the content within written materials that are in our Christian County library systems. And I come to you to ask that you engage on this matter, as the Christian County Library Board recently decided to not adopt a book rating system. And this is a missed opportunity to protect our children from content that is harmful. So a book rating system could provide a visible means of identifying content maturity levels. And it would be something like the Motion Picture Association rating that you currently see on movies. And incidentally, the Christian County Library has indirectly adopted that Motion Picture Association rating for movies, in that there are books or movies that are rated in our library that are available to youth to check out. And a parent could tell their child that you are restricted to only check out G-rated movies, and that child could go to the library, review all the G-rated options, and select one of those movies. And the intent of the parents would be met, and the morality of the child would be protected by that rating system. However, if an 8-year-old were to go into a Nixa library branch run by Christian County, that child could select from any of the 700 plus R-rated movies within the Christian County Library, and they'd be able to take that movie and view it without their parents' knowledge or consent. Whereas if they were to head towards Ozark and go to the movie theater on 14, that same 8-year-old would be told to come back when they're 17 and of the recommended age to watch that movie. But I digress. Books are different from movies in that there is no currently adopted rating system for books. And our Christian County Library Board refuses to adopt a system that would allow the content of books to be judged by a marking on the cover of the books. So you'll see in this binder that you'll get a chance to review that there is some material in the books in our library that undoubtedly would be objectionable to most parents in our community. However, when a child receives that library card here, they get unrestricted access to all materials in the library. And I would just, if I could end by saying, some might look at this as, the Nixa is in Christian County and there's nothing we can do. However, the Christian County Library is in Nixa, and I think that something must be done to engage to get a book rating system that will allow children and parents to keep books within a recommended and desired level of maturity appropriate for each family member. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Will Squires.
Hello, my name is Will Squires. I also live in Maplewood Hills. I'm more or less reiterating what Joe and Mark talked about regarding the dismissal at Century Elementary. I moved here about 3 years ago from Springfield. My daughter is getting ready to, she started summer school this past month. We'll start kindergarten in the fall. I'm not there very often during the day, but when I have been at home and seeing that, it's not if, it's when. There's an issue there. I am also on the HOA with Mark. We have done numerous things like Mark had mentioned. But there's something more else that needs to be done. What that is, I'm not really sure. And a committee probably does need to be brought on to kind of address those things. But there is a concern. My daughter, I live 300 yards away from the school. I'm afraid for my daughter to walk home. Granted, she'll be in kindergarten. I wouldn't let her walk either way. But there's something that's going to happen, and it just needs to be addressed. And hopefully, you guys can help facilitate that, because we did move down here. Nixa is a very good place. I just hope that, and with the bond measure that we passed for the city police and everything, that they can help provide some assistance in doing so. So that's about all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any kind of a crossing guard
Yes.
for these kids?
Yeah.
Yes,
At that
there is
space?
one. There is one there in the morning and the dismissal. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Tristan Barclift.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. The last time I spoke here, I advocated for those of us with physical pain. As you may remember, my spinal cord was crushed a few years back to narrower than a pencil, very close to being a quadriplegic. I told you about the massive nerve pain and trauma that comes from something like that. Tonight, I want to bring you the praise report of a miracle. Not very long ago, I was healed. All of my pain is gone. Every limitation removed. Supernaturally by the Lord. Whoever prayed for me, I want to thank you for Jesus worked a miracle in me. And he can work a miracle in you. It's completely true. Cast your cares on him, for he cares for you. The heart of the Lord is on each and every one of you tonight. His mercy endures forever. More than merciful, his grace abounds. Mercy is if a cop pulls you over for speeding and lets you off with a warning. Grace is if a cop pulls you over, sees why you're in a rush, and clears the way for you. The God of grace loves you with his whole heart. He can clear the way for your healing. He's not going to arrest you, but he will arrest your heart. and he's going to put his dreams and desires for you there. Plans he has for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Yes, my soul finds rest in God. All my hope comes from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress where I will not be shaken. If you don't know the Lord wants to know you. If you haven't spoken to him in a long time, he's calling you back to him tonight, back to your first love. If you've never known him, his name is Jesus Christ of Nazareth. He's the living God, the only God, the way, the truth, the life. Jesus loves you and I love you. He is the source of all of my love and strength. He rescued me out of a mire of darkness and fear, out of hopelessness and pain never ending. His love is all that I needed, and I didn't feel worthy to be loved. But his sacrifice on the cross made us all worthy to be loved by the God of love. He is a mighty miracle-working God. And if you want to know him, ask him in the name of Jesus, show me who you are, amen. And he will. You can count on that. Prepare your heart, because your life is about to get wild in an amazing way. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Ron Sanders.
At least I'm not the only one talking tonight, right? Tonight I was going to have ChatGPT write an essay on individual freedom. And I read through it, and it's a pretty good essay. But I might just take a few pieces from it. Our nation was founded on individualism. A bunch of very smart individuals with very individual talents and individual thoughts came together and decided to create what could only be one of the greatest civilizations that this world would ever see. And only by the power of all of us individually thinking and working for ourselves do we bring our republic together. This form of government that we have where every individual is protected by the rule of law. There is no collectivism where a bunch of people can come together in a democratic way and, 51 people get to decide what the 49 others eat or anything like that. It's evolved over the past 250 years into something very, very great, very benevolent. And everybody is so courteous and so good that they've even become a little bit too nice. And every once in a while, our compassion is taken advantage of to the point where we're shamed by our compassion and we're careful with our words, and people can actually put us on defense whenever we're individually thinking, to the point where we might have to accept collective ideas. And that's very dangerous because it rots our society. It makes things very bad. We have a whole bunch of very smart individuals come together and try to solve a problem here with the schools. I have the same problem over on Gregg Road. We have a bunch of individuals thinking for themselves and thinking, well, I'm going to solve my own problem by going over here instead of waiting in the line. That's not a great problem. That's kind of a bad one, but that's where the rule of law comes in. But I will read something here from the old chat guy here. Individualism recognizes and protects individual rights and liberties. It promotes the notion that all individuals should be treated with equal dignity and respect, irrespective of their background or beliefs. By safeguarding individual rights such as freedom of speech, assembly, and religion, societies foster an environment of tolerance, pluralism, and democratic governance, Republican governance. Individualism acts as a bulwark against oppressive systems that infringe upon personal freedoms, ensuring that each person has a voice and agency in shaping their own destiny. Everybody here who's been a while had just received their recognitions are individuals that have put themselves into the city and have brought their individual profession to give to the city and make it a better place. And I've said it probably, 20 or 30 times. The people of Nixa are very good people. And I don't think that we could find a better city. I'd challenge anybody to come, find a place where people think for themselves, people act for themselves, and it's still a great place to live with very good people who care for one another and will stand up for the hard right over the easy wrong. And just like every other time I come up here, I challenge you guys to make sure that you are serving the individual freedoms of all of our citizens over any collective ideas or anything that would trample on their personal freedoms. And I think we have some issues up on the agenda tonight. So I implore you to always consider that those individual personal freedoms and individualism is what makes us great and is what will keep on making us great, so long as you make sure that that individualism is protected. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Did anyone else want to speak on anything that is not on the agenda? If none, then I will close the visitor section. And we will move on to our first reading of Ordinance Council Bill 2023-32.
First reading, Council Bill number 2023-32, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending the 2023 annual budget to appropriate funds for utility billing account specialist 1 position. Presenting is Jennifer Evans, Finance Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here to present the budget amendment ordinance to amend the budget to add, actually it's to reinstate the utility billing staff level from 5 to 6. When I started in 2020, they had 6 staff members over there. We had some staff turnover and some changes. In 2021, when Brian Hawk became the supervisor, we had an open position that he was able to readjust some of the job duties and reallocate some job duties, and we were able to get by with 5 instead of 6. But since that time, we have added the RDE water system and just the general growth of the city. We've had some additional staff turnover. And so we have a very new staff over there now, and they are stretched very thin. And so I am requesting this budget amendment to reinstate that staffing level to 6 as opposed to 5. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about any of those details.
Any questions? Thank you, Mrs. Evans. No questions from council. We will open up the public hearing. We will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? All right. Moving on to the second reading, Council Bill 2023-27.
Second reading, Council Bill number 2023-27, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending Chapter 2 of the Nixa City Code by repealing Section 2-150 and adding a new article thereto to establish regulations related to the city's procurement procedures and contract procedures. Presenting is Nick Woodman, City Attorney.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm before you this evening to discuss Council Bill 2023-27 with you. This bill was first read at the June 12th regular council meeting, and it's eligible for final passage this evening. The bill, if approved, would modify the city's competitive procurement processes and update provisions related to the city's contracting process. Importantly, the current provisions of the bill would grant the city administrator authority to enter into contracts with the city if a competitive procurement process has been utilized, there's an appropriation in the city's budget, and if it's a capital project, if it appears on the city's capital improvement project. After the presentation at the last meeting, there was some discussion amongst council about that delegation, some questions about maybe having some additional checks and balances on that. I spoke with Mr. Lyles about this. We've thought about a few provisions that we might be able to add to the ordinance to give council some more oversight or comfort on that delegation. So with direction from council, we'd be willing to postpone the bill, provide some additional provisions to address some of those concerns, if that's something that council would like to entertain, or the bill could be approved as is this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions from the council or the mayor on this item. Or seek any further input or direction on the item as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal is to, make a lot of the processes easier, so, because there's a lot of times that it gets brought up here that it was already budgeted for, we already knew about it, it was approved, and just going through the motions, but that also adds time, and a lot of times we don't have that time. So that's kind of my one concern is, certain things and getting caught up in just the process that adds time just for no reason at all. But I also think that we're pretty spoiled. We have a good staff. We don't have to worry about that, and that's good for now. But 15 years from now, is that going to be the same?
Right, it's kind of interesting. That was kind of, if you read any of the commentaries of the Constitutional Convention, that was kind of what they talked about with the president, that, they kind of knew George Washington was going to be the first president, so they were very careful to say, well, we know the first guy will be good, but who knows about the next guy? And so, what do we do about, this and that? So, and that's kind of what I think you've all kind of honed in on with this bill is, it might be great now, but what kind of checks and balances do you want in place in the future if you were to get a rogue city administrator?
Yeah.
So from what I understand though on this though, it's still the city attorneys and the finance director both still look at this and chime in on it as well, correct?
Yeah, but our review on that is going to be, it's not going to be a policy review. It's going to be, are there funds in the budget when it comes to the director certification? And for my certification, it's going to be, does it meet the basic elements of being a legal contract? So there isn't going to, it's not like we would have vetoes over, the policy.
Right, but there's still guidelines within this that they have to follow, correct?
There would, and if a contract were entered into without following this code provision, then that, I wouldn't be able to approve that as to form, which means it wouldn't be effective per the ordinance.
And if we would, if council would like for us to come back with some of those provisions or at least some options, we're happy to do that. The idea would be that, as Mr. Woodman and I talked about earlier, would be that we get council involved in the process much sooner rather than later. In the past, council has been approving bid awards and things of that nature after we've already went through the whole process. So ideally, council involvement would come much sooner, because as it sets, we go through the whole process. Council says, you don't want to agree with whatever bid award, and then it puts us all the way back, and we have to start the process over again, which leads back to that time frame issue and getting day-to-day business accomplished. So the idea would be that we could bring something back to council that would, again, get you involved much sooner in the process before we actually go out to bid for some of these services that we bid for. And that way we can take council's direction, apply that to the bid process or the RFP, RFQ, whatever that may be, and then staff would take it from there because it would be budgeted, we'd have council input, and then we could just follow that direction. So, but if you would like to do that, we just need a little more time to work out what that might look like. And I do have a few concerns about products versus services, things of that nature that we have to get quickly, transformers, wire, poles, those kind of things. But I'm confident, me and Mr. Woodman spoke earlier, I'm pretty confident that we can come up with something that we can bring to council that would address that as well. So, but again, we would just need a little more time to come up with that, if that's something council would like to look at.
If we postpone it, then that would come back in the form of amendments, or how would that work?
Yeah, we would probably propose an amended bill at that point. So if we propose an amended bill, you'd have two votes, one to amend it and then another vote to approve it as amended.
But we wouldn't have to go through the first and second reading, we could just...
Yes, yeah, you would be able to approve it at that third meeting.
Okay.
And we do have plenty of time. Our current purchasing policy is in good order, and we can continue to operate as we have in the past. So there's no concern there.
That's an important point. It's not like this is a thing we have to fix today. This is what we're trying to bring forward are some better practices, but through the legislative process, which is the point of why we have this two-reading system. There were some comments made from the council that we're trying to respond to.
I definitely, the one thing that I think I brought up last time too is at the very end there, it talks about apply for non-matching grants up to $5,000. I'm not sure that we really need to cap it at $5,000 if it's non-matching.
Well, I think we'd also discussed putting grant stuff in the consent agenda, correct? But then I also have my concerns with that, because I don't want it to be like we put all this stuff in the consent agenda and then just approve it and everyone is like, what just happened?
Yeah, one of the things that Mr. Lyles and I discussed on this topic was also potentially bringing forward an additional amendment to provide more content on the consent agenda.
Yep.
So maybe some of these things could be approved that way, but limiting the scope of what that would be. So that's an option that we've discussed to kind of provide that additional check for the council. So you still have quicker approval, but the council would have the ability to pull things off of that if they wanted discussion or wanted presentation on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like the idea of the consent agenda. I don't like the way it's used in some instances where they put a bunch of stuff in there and then pass a whole bunch of stuff at once that isn't talked about, doesn't have
Right.
public hearing.
So what we can do is provide some code language that it is just, grants or something to that effect. Like council can put a fence on what can go on there.
Yeah.
That way we're not loading everything. Again, if there's a rogue city administrator, they're not just loading everything on the consent agenda and it's just, going through without any kind of comment.
Because a grant for a bulletproof vest,
Right.
why would we ever say no to that? Gotcha. Okay. So is the council good with diving into this a little deeper? Okay.
Yep. So we could just get a motion to postpone this one to the next meeting. We'll come back with some amendments.
All right. I'll accept a motion to postpone.
So made.
Second. First by Mr. Lucas and a second by Mr. Peterson. Roll call, please. No.
Can I get we're postponing to next regularly scheduled meeting?
That's what he said, but I'll go ahead and.
I just want to confirm.
Yes, I will say we'll postpone it to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
And it's just an all in favor, Mayor.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Moving on to Council Bill 2023-28.
Second reading Council Bill number 2023-28, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa approving the preliminary plat of the Oakhurst subdivision, generally located in the 900 block of South Norton Road, and authorizing certain city officials to take certain actions upon the filing of the final plat. Presenting is Scott Gobby, Planning and Development Director.
Oh, come on. Don't freeze up on me. It'll get there. Okay. Mayor, Council, good evening. This is for the preliminary plat for the Oakhurst subdivision. It is located in the 900 block of South Norton. It's roughly 80 acres. It extends from Norton west to Gregg Road. It is proposed to create 155 buildable single-family lots.
The current zoning for the property, as you see listed there, is R1, R3, and neighborhood commercial. These are the zoning districts that are already in place for this piece of property. This will give you some context as to where it is. Again, you can see the zoning arrangement that is currently on the property. That's not, there's no adjustment happening to those zoning arrangements. This property was annexed in 2018, and it also received the current zoning arrangements at that same time. There was also a preliminary plat for the Oakhurst subdivision that was also approved in 2018. So basically what we're seeing tonight is an update of that preliminary plat. There's been some road changes. There's been some, they shrunk some of the lots so they can get more lots in there. They still all conform with our single-family lot standards. So all lots are proposed to have Nixa utilities, water, sewer, and electric. You can see that it is also broken into 5 phases. The first 3 phases will be the single-family subdivision. Phase 4 is the multifamily, and Phase 5 is the neighborhood commercial. The road you're seeing as part of Phase 5 will be the Inman Road extension that will eventually connect out to 160. So again, there's really no significant changes versus what was proposed in 2018 other than increasing the lots, the number of lots. There was a sinkhole evaluation performed earlier this year, so they do have a current sinkhole evaluation that conforms with our new sinkhole stormwater regulations. As you may notice, there are plenty of sinkholes on the property. There was a public hearing held at the June 5th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. During that time, no concerned neighbors or property owners approached the commission. The commission did vote unanimously to recommend approval. Staff has reviewed the preliminary plat, and it is in conformance with the major subdivision code sections of our code of ordinances and does recommend approval. If you have any questions, I am available.
No question. Thank you, Mr. Godby.
Thank you.
We will open up the public hearing on this. And we will close the public hearing. No. All right, anything else from council? All right, I will accept a motion.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
First by Ms. Graham, second by Mr. Lucas. Roll call, please.
Darlene Graham.
Yes.
Zern Vest.
Yes.
Kelly Morris.
Yes.
Sean Lucas.
Yes.
Aaron Peterson.
Yes.
All right. Next is Council Bill 2023-29.
Second reading Council Bill Number 2023-29, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending the 2023 annual budget to appropriate funds for design work to City Hall. Presenting is Jimmy Lyles, City Administrator.
Mayor, Council, in April of this year, our citizens passed a 3/4 cent general fund sales tax that would be dedicated to public safety. As part of that sales tax, we do intend on adding additional officers, and also, as we told the public we would, is build a new police department. Before we can build a new police department, we have to make some current changes to our governmental property or complex that we're currently set on. Our utility building will ultimately have to be demolished before we can actually start to build the police department. And of course, before we can demolish that building, we got to move our utility billing department. So the plan has been and still is to move the utility billing department into City Hall. We currently have additional space since we have sent, the municipal court is now at the county. That's opened up quite a bit of space that we can now utilize for utility billing. So I have received some quotes on that design work for City Hall, and that has come in the form of 2 packages. The first package that was quoted was for $18,750 and includes a design to relocate utility billing again here to City Hall. And that also will include includes a program analysis to determine the exact space requirements that's going to be needed. Package 2 is for $41,500 and includes the remodel of several other areas that need to be improved across City Hall, both for efficiency and improved work environment for our employees. to include things such as potentially a new entry area, but expanded break room for our employees, especially bringing additional employees into our building, smoking area that we currently don't have for some of our employees, things of that nature that we kind of need to get taken care of. The cost for both packages together is $60,250. I do believe that it'd be best use of funds to do both packages at one time so we can get that wrapped up and have one company do that design as a whole. The other thing that will allow us to do by doing the budget amendment now and getting that design work done now is appropriately budget for next year. Because although the plan is we get the design work done this year, we actually start construction in 2024. But to be able to do that, obviously, we have to budget for that. So doing these plans will give us an idea of what that remodel looks like, and then, again, will give us an idea of what that will cost. So then we can appropriately budget in the 2024 budget. So staff is recommending the approval of the ordinance before you tonight for a budget amendment in the amount of $60,250. And again, and that'll be ARPA funds is where I do recommend taking that money from. So be happy to answer any questions that the mayor or council has.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Lyles. No other questions? We will open up the public hearing if you would like to speak on this matter. We will close the public hearing. And do you need direction on which one?
If council's approving the budget as a whole as recommended,
It does both.
then it'll take care of both of them.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any other questions? All right. I will accept a motion.
So made.
I'll second.
First by Mr. Peterson, second by Ms. Morris. Roll call, please.
Zern Vest,
Yes.
Kelly Morris,
Yes.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Darlene Graham.
Yes.
Moving forward to the second reading, Council Bill 2023-30.
Second reading, Council Bill Number 2023-30, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending the Woodfield Villas Planned Unit Development Overlay Zoning District, generally located in the 400 block of South Truman Boulevard, by incorporating approximately 3.59 acres of additional real property into said planned unit development. Presenting is Scott Gobby, Planning and Development Director.
Mayor, Council, good evening. There is an existing planned unit development residential that covers Lot 50 of the Woodfield subdivision. It is named the Woodfield Villas PUDR. There's the general location is along South Truman Boulevard. The property owner is also the owner of the adjacent R3 lot next to it. Again, R3 is high-density multifamily. The underlying zoning for Lot 50 of Woodfield is also R3 high-density multifamily. The property owner is requesting to extend the boundaries of his PUDR to the adjacent lot that he also owns. This will allow, along with some other changes to the document itself, which will govern the development site. This will allow the development to make better use of the property that is there, and also allow them to have a creative and unique development, which is what a planned unit development is intended in our code for. So again, the original Woodfield's PUD was approved in 2008. It only included Lot 50 of Woodfield. And in that original document, it included 2 3-story buildings. It's important to note that they were 3-story buildings. It also increased the building height to 55 feet to adjust for those 3-story buildings. Again, each dwelling unit had 24, each building had 24 dwelling units per building. So again, this was in 2008, it was approved. Again, no activity has taken place on the property. The adjacent parcel was rezoned in April of 2019. It went from R1 to R3. At that time, and at this time, a traffic impact study will be required at the time of development. Again, this was before the Truman extension went in. So this, you'll see that they have designed to the new Truman extension. This is the site plan. They are proposing to have 9 buildings placed on these 2 properties. It is, each building will have 9 dwelling units, so they will look a little different than the normal apartment complex that we will see. So again, the changes that they are requesting to keep the 55-foot building height change, which will allow for a 3-story building with a typical pitched roof on it. Sorry, I don't know if I said that right, but the normal roof pitch rather than just a flat roof. So in addition to what they are wanting to keep in the original PUD, which is the 55-foot building height, they are requesting to also keep the setbacks that were in the original document, which is different than the current R3 setbacks. So the R3 setback the PUD document will increase the front setback from 20 feet to 25 feet, and then along the side and rear will be a 20-foot setback rather than what is allowed by current code, which would be 12 and also 8 foot on the sides. So the density for the proposed development, you'll see that it's proposed that there's going to be 81 dwelling units. With the 2 lots combined, there could be a max of 96 dwelling units. You'll see on the site plan that there is a large sinkhole, which also takes up a lot of developable space, along with a large utility easement along the east side of the property. So this property does have immediate access to all Nixa utilities. As you can see, there's a large sinkhole on the property. In 2022, the City of Nixa adopted changes to our sinkhole stormwater regulations. So there will be we will require a new sinkhole evaluation to be performed, as the last one was performed in 2017. So there may be slight shifting of these buildings to adjust for the proper setback from the flooding elevation that will be located during the new sinkhole evaluation. Again, we require a 25-foot setback from the flooding elevation stage in the sinkhole. So these structures may have to shift just slightly, which is allowed in the PUD document to be approved by the planning director. I think I may have covered all the significant changes. At the June 5th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there was a public hearing held on this agenda item. Numerous concerned citizens approached the commission. Their concerns were similar to the ones that we heard during the first reading: potential traffic issues, flooding issues associated with the sinkhole, and aesthetics of the development. With all things considered, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend approval to Nixa City Council. Staff has reviewed the PUD document and finds it to be in significant conformance with Section 117-215, which is the review criteria for PUDs, and staff does recommend approval. If you have any questions, I am available.
I do have a few questions, Scott.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to confirm this. So you said Lot 50's already got the PUDR. If you want to go.
Correct. It is the lot that has the hashed zoning on it.
Right. So basically what they're asking to do is just to extend that same PUD governance over to that other lot. Because both are already zoned R3 for multifamily apartment dwelling. Along with that, the PUDR currently accounts for a 3-story building, correct?
Correct. In addition, a 3-story building could be achieved in regular R3 zoning as well. It would just have to have a flat roof.
Have to have a flat roof, okay. Yeah. And then if we do not approve the PUDR overlay to the other lot, what is the number of dwelling units that could be built on that lot?
I believe Lot 50 can, Lot 50, I forget what the original PUD document stated for Lot 50, but with normal zoning, it would be 44 dwelling units on Lot 50. With this new site plan, they are proposing to have 54 dwelling units placed on Lot 50. So again, that is an increase over current density, but it spreads it out The total dwelling units of 81, it spreads it out across and underneath the overlay district. So it makes best use of the two pieces of property.
Okay. Okay. And I think you might have covered it, but the differences between the R3 zone and the PUDR proposal, is that what that was with the setbacks? Is that basically the only differences?
The setbacks is a significant change or something that's significantly different, and then also the building height is, the current zoning district of R3, city standards only has a 35-foot max building height, so this would increase it to 55, or
Okay.
keep it to 55.
Okay, and the only buildings that are gonna go on the lot that he's asking for, it looks like by the plan, is there's 3 buildings that he's looking to put on that property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from council? No? Thank you, Mr. Godby.
Thank you.
All right. We will open up the public hearing on this.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Porter McGowan. I live at 892 West Heather Glen Road. First off, he said some things that he did not say 2 weeks ago, and I would like to also mention that he did not mention the draining into the sinkhole, which I gave each member, I hope, has the sinkholes packet. I contacted the Department of Natural Resources to ask them if they had any information on sinkholes that we could benefit from. And they sent me a couple articles, of which I ran off parts of this one. I'm on the second page with the sinkhole development pictures and captions underneath. And it states that much of this state is underlain by carbonate bedrock and has a potential for karst development. Water moving through cracks in limestone and dolomite slowly dissolves the rock and carries it away in solution. Through this process, large caves and caverns can develop in the subsurface. As rock is removed, the soil above washes into the void space. With time, sinkholes form at the surface. And I'm not going to read the captions underneath the pictures, but you can see how those develop. While many sinkholes occur as circular bowl-shaped depressions, others are not readily visible on the surface because voids are plugged or capped with soil or thin layers of rock. The sinkholes begin with slow soil piping, which is erosion, over a long period. When the soil above the void can no longer support itself, it collapses to reveal a deep hole that connects to an underlying bedrock opening. These voids may be discovered during excavation by drilling or through geophysical exploration. Residential and commercial development in a karst area can pose environmental and logistical problems. Aside from structurally impacting foundations of homes and other buildings, sinkholes often serve as a direct conduits for rapid surface water infiltration into the underlying groundwater aquifer. Contaminants near or at the surface can quickly enter the aquifer and pollute drinking water. Increased stormwater runoff resulting from parking lots, highways, and household guttering often is diverted into sinkholes. The increased inflow of water not only can lead to the acceleration, development, and growth of sinkholes, but also can transport contaminants. Managing stormwater runoff and water disposal in sinkhole-prone areas is important to maintain good groundwater quality and prevent environmental contamination. It goes on to state other potential causes, but those I don't think are as applicable as the ones that I just mentioned. On mitigation, it says the best way to prevent damage to property from sinkholes is to identify their presence and avoid them before any land development begins. However, the exact location of where a sinkhole will develop often cannot be predicted. Once a sinkhole has developed, the landowner should erect a barrier at a safe distance to prevent access to the sinkhole. As the perimeter of the sinkhole erodes, the diameter likely will increase. Allowing the sinkhole to develop naturally is preferred. However, that is not always possible, especially in a populated area. There are procedures to properly fill and physically stabilize the void in a populated while minimizing hazard, mediating the potential for further collapse and reducing liability. It is strongly recommended the property owner contact a professional engineer or registered geologist for additional assistance in stabilizing sinkholes. Remediating a sinkhole typically involves excavating soil materials to the bedrock surface and filling the void with size-grade material. Large rocks should be placed within and over the bedrock fracture or solution opening, with the first layer of rock size larger in diameter than the opening. This ensures proper support to provided for overlying layers of fill. Each layer of material above the base should be successfully smaller in size. Near the surface, a layer of a geotextile fabric covered by topsoil may be used to complete the filling surface. The woven material acts as a filter that allows water to pass through but prevents infiltrating water from washing soil into the underlying fill. The area should be vegetated to help control erosion. If you go to the last page, it shows you how this happens. It is important to note that once sinkholes form, they do not go away. The sinkhole is a surface expression of a deep-seated geological feature. The void in the underlying bedrock will continue to function as a natural drain and will transmit water and soils through the subsurface. Fill material and soils will settle over time. However, settling can be minimized using proper surface water management methods. Property owners should make every effort to limit surface water runoff near the collapse, diverting rain gutters, limiting lawn watering, rerouting stormwater runoff, and properly managing waste are sample measures that can help reduce infiltration and potential groundwater contamination. He did not mention that their plan was to divert the groundwater to the current sinkhole, and I think you will remember that from 2 weeks ago when he was up talking. This is a major concern.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Nathan Adams. I'm with Own Engineering. Our address is 3213 Southwest Bypass, Springfield, Missouri. So we're the engineers for this project, and I just wanted to touch on a few topics that came up 2 weeks ago and tonight, just to give you all the information. So a couple of things. So the drainage, last week we talked about, there's drainage going toward the park. That's kind of northwest of that. After the meeting, we kind of had a continued discussion, and I think a lot of that drainage that was talked about was the drainage that's on the road itself, not on the property. The front of the property, the front probably 20 feet may drain to the road, but the rest of it drains off the other direction. The road's kind of the high point of that area. So the road is what she was looking at, does drain back to the park, but that's not on our property. Staying on that item, the geotech study that we just talked about. So we as an engineering firm have a geologist on staff who's got 30 years experience, who has done work with karst all over this area. And so we go on site and we test where each one of these buildings and where the parking lot's going to be. We drill down into the ground to find bedrock, to find what's under the ground. And of course, in this area, or in this specific piece of property, there's already a sinkhole identified, so we kind of know the boundaries of that sinkhole. But we always look for additional sinkholes under any buildings that are being built. The density, so Scott talked about it a little bit more, but there was 2 weeks ago, it was brought up that there is increasing the density on the western lot. And that is true, but overall, we're trying to reduce the density that can be currently allowed there. It's basically shifting some density around because of the sinkhole, but reducing what is currently allowed for the overall perspective. And then going to the building height, like Scott talked about, we're just looking at having, a sloped roof to make it look like a residential property like I talked about 2 weeks ago. We're not really planning on more building floors than are already planned. The building height is really just so we can get the peak of the roof to make it look residential. And then the last thing that was asked about was the remaining piece of property on the south side, on the other side of the new road. That's not being included in this PUD adjustment, so that will not be touched by what's being talked about tonight. That will remain in R3 zoning without an overlay on it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is Rick Henderson. I live in Dustin Lane. I'd like to thank you again. We was here 2 weeks ago. Nathan, I'd like to thank you for your involvement in this as a resident of that area. And with Scott's help, and which will be invaluable, we hope that the aesthetics that will be taken into greatest consideration at all points. The water issue is just a water issue that probably can be dealt with many times here. A lot of the homeowners are not here tonight, which is fine. They made their voice heard last week. And I'm sure that the reason the height of the building keeps going up and up and up is make it a viable economic opportunity. And I think the homeowners that were here last week are simply asking for the same opportunity. And that viability comes by maximizing your investment that they've got in dollars. And we all understand that. We need apartments. We need nice looking apartments, looks like these are going to be. But the homeowners that surround there, I think, deserve the same opportunity to maximize their investment that they made several years ago. So just hope it'll be taken into account at all stages. And y'all have been very kind, very gracious. And Scott, I want to thank you again. You've been very kind, very informative, a true professional. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hi, Lauren Gist, 880 West Heather Glen. I spoke a couple weeks ago, so I just wanted to follow up. I had left you with kind of some bullet points. I think, one of my biggest concerns was there was a lot kind of squished into this where it wasn't clear as far as what exactly you guys would be voting on as well. And it seemed the verbiage was kind of confusing. And I just still kind of feel like there is stuff that we're missing, and I know plans can change. Once it goes through, then it's kind of free and clear to like whatever you kind of want to do with adding that zoning in here. I was here also before trying to fight the R1 passing to R3 because it is such a small area. I'm not sure if you guys were able to kind of go see it visually, but it's surrounded by the single family and then, the flow of everything. I don't know how that kind of went through before, but so anyway, I just implore you to please help represent us. I'm definitely all for the apartments. I have no doubt on the abilities. I think the apartment complexes and all of that for sure, but that's just so squished in there, and I don't think that's the place for it. And I understand for the builder that bought the other property, he's a businessman. It's a business decision, but this affects our livelihoods down there. And the other concern with the traffic was the parking too, that I just wanted to reiterate that it has planned for 1.5 parking spots per unit. So with the increase of all that density, where's the spillover for guests or, kids grow up and, there's a certain period that you have probably at least 2 to 3 cars. So there's concern of that too, with if this went through with that increase of density in that small area and the parking. And like I said, Truman Road isn't even open, and I just feel like we got to kind of wait and see a little bit instead of rushing into all of this. There's so much piled into that. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Name's Ron Sanders, live at 976 Glen Oaks Drive. I described this in a not so nice light the last time, but I'm going to say something a little bit different this time. Short-term gain often leads to long-term misery, and I think that everybody should ask themselves, as city council members, what does posterity mean to you? Posterity means to me is that we can look 30 to 50 to 60 years, maybe 100 years into the future and see what we're leaving behind. And with this particular project and with some of the projects that we've seen come through here in the past, I don't think it's been considered. Sinkholes are only going to get bigger. So 30 to 50 years from now, sinkholes will start swallowing up buildings. We'll be long gone. Some of y'all might be in a retirement home or something like that, or just retired on a beach somewhere or something like that, but you're not going to be here, or maybe you will be here to see the sinkhole open up and all the misery that it'll create. In between now and then, you may hang around to get to see the surrounding single-family homes deteriorate in price, in value. Because of that, it's not just because it's an R3, it's because it's jamming so much into such a small space that it is going to affect. And right now, all property values are pretty much going up. But those property values around there are going to go down. They're going to go down because they're going to become undesirable. Because who wants to be able to look up there and see people looking into your back window? And even if you grow trees there, they can only grow so far. And then what happens during the 4 months of the year whenever they don't have leaves? Howdy, neighbor. And it gets dark, earlier, so I turn on my interior lights and I shine my whole life out the window so that everybody over in those apartments see it also. People may not be thinking about this right now, but they're going to be living it 3, 5, 10 years from now. And that's what's going to cause those property values to deteriorate. So you're affecting the posterity of all of those people who have already invested their time and money here in our city. You're going to affect it in such a profound way that the value, property value, everybody buys a house because they know it's going to become more valuable. But for those few people who don't experience that, it ruins their lives. In one way or another, whether it's a short-term ruin or a long-term ruin. Some people have selected those houses to retire in, to live in forever. And now it's going to be affected in a very negative way. And then we're going to increase the erosion of these sinkholes and cause it to go even faster. And the short-term pain and misery is going to come from those roads becoming more traversed. That one road over there is already catastrophically decimated by the high schoolers trying to get off of Gregg Road to get to school faster. It's not even built for that type of stuff, but they're all racing down that road. I think it's Dustin Road or something like that. They're already racing by the hundreds down that road because it's the shortcut to avoid Gregg Road. And it's making all of those neighbors miserable. And if people try to sell their houses right now, and somebody comes to see the house early in the morning, and they almost get run over by one of the 20 or 30 kids that come by in the next 30 seconds, are they going to buy that house? No, the house is going to go down, down, down until somebody finally says, it's $100,000 less. I think I can put up with the traffic for that kind of gain. Maybe it'll go up, but, that's not what we're supposed to be considering. And I would just ask one question. Are you guys allowed to vote no on this? Because I really do think that y'all should. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barb Acuff. I live at 875 West Chestnut Bend. And my house is in just the full range of all of these three-story apartments. It's at the back of my house, but the back of my house is my front room windows that I'll be seeing. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've noticed some changes in my neighborhood. There's a lot more for sale signs going up. We're losing some good neighbors to this. And I hate that, I really do. I've noticed in the last rain that we had, the street was flooded down on the Truman. But I don't know if that's going to be corrected because they did have the large barriers in front of it. But I just kind of wanted to see where the rain was going to, when there weren't apartments there. And so it was flooded on the road. So to me, I don't know how it's going to be affected when the apartments are there and the, the parking lots and everything. So I am saddened that we are losing neighbors. Unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity to move, so I'll have to come up with other things to do, and that's why I've asked you all to kind of help me to provide, security and my privacy and everything, and working with the architect and everything on that. The traffic, yes, the traffic is getting bad, and I'm glad to see that the city, that you're doing some studies on the traffic that is now. I mean, they use it as a drag strip, coming down, and I can tell. And we have put up with, the road is a beautiful road. I just really love it and everything, but we have had to put up with a lot of dump trucks and a lot of dust and dirt and everything, but that's progress, hey, I'm just asking that this is really thought through and, just help us out as a subdivision, because we don't want to lose our neighbors to move out of town, because, the people that are selling their houses, the people that come in and look at the houses, they're asking the neighbors, well, what's going to happen with that lot across the street? What's going on? Well, we tell them there's apartments, and some of them say, whoa, I don't know. I'll have to think a little bit about that. So, it's going to be hard for some of the people that have their houses for sale to sell them. So that's just the things I've noticed in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So please, consider everyone's thoughts that they've had tonight. So I appreciate everything that everyone has done, and just please, put yourself in our shoes. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Ryan Gist, 880 West Heather Glen Road. I wish I could go back to 2019 and then get more people here then. I kind of felt like that was almost a little bit of a bait and switch. Well, here's what we're going to do. 55 and up. It's going to be respectfully done, facing different ways. We're not going to jam everything in there. And what's been brought up a couple times is black and white. That is over the density. I don't care if you spread it out or not, it's over. I moved here 7 years ago with my family because Nixa's safe. I really loved it. I loved the schools. I love all the extracurricular activities, the theaters. My daughter's in a theater and she loves it. I mean, we're so blessed to have the new ATOS Center and everything else that this city provides us. And the city also provided a sense of community and that we had a voice. I loved it so much that I kindly asked my parents, who had their forever home, my kid home, in Springfield for 45 years, to move into the neighborhood. As soon as a house went up, jumped on it immediately because I wanted them to be closer. And now I felt like I made a bad decision for them sometimes. They'll never tell me, hey, I wish I wouldn't have, or anything like that, because they don't want to hurt my feelings. That's what parents do. And I want to hurt my kids and the decisions we've made, because we are losing neighbors. That's why I said I wish I could go back to 2019, then maybe they wouldn't be going anywhere either. The traffic has increased quite a bit through there, and I get it. We have to have that road to try to help alleviate some traffic in other areas too. So, nothing you can do there, right? But just like my wife said, the extra parking, et cetera, that possibly could be done on the street. There's buses that come down through there in the morning and in the afternoon, and when kids are racing down through there, we're not only just talking about affecting Woodfield, which there's about a little over 40 houses in there, but that means there's probably about 100 people that live in there too. Plus, we're also affecting everyone that lives down Dustin Street, and oh my gosh, Greg is unreal. They finally cut down some trees that were along that house there if you were coming back out the other way going towards the elementary, because my goodness, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people almost hit there. So that was awesome. That's some good progress there. But the people that are going on to Greg, if you had another 180 cars because of the amount of units, plus the relief that's coming from the south side with the other houses and things they're building down Truman, oh my goodness, it's going to be a lot. And it is kind of interesting, each meeting that I've been to about this, every time there's a little bit more comment on the aesthetics. Oh, we're going to do something, it's going to look really nice, it's going to be unique. It will be unique having a 3-story building looking into my backyard. Absolutely, because my backyard does slope down. It's plain and simple going to happen. It's going to happen to everyone on that side of the street too. I moved there for the privacy and the safety and the neighbors, and we've gotten to know them, and the ones that are moving that are next to us are some of the best neighbors I've ever been around. And like I said, they have 2 daughters, I have 2 daughters, and they're like siblings, and they're moving away because of it. And so obviously I would ask everybody to vote no on it, of course, because it's going to be so much jammed into one area that black and white, it's over the density, right? And I would hate to, and everybody keeps talking about the sinkholes, I would hate to see something built there, then all of a sudden that does get swallowed up. That'd be awful. I'd hate that for anybody. It will affect our ability to sell our homes, like I know. Like people say, well, it can't affect the price. Well, legally, no, it can't affect the price, but it doesn't mean people have to be willing to buy it either. There's places that I looked at that I was not willing to pay any amount of price because of what was next to it. And that's not an area that needs to have a whole bunch of apartments jammed into it. That will be very unique. And not a unique that I think I would like, but I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on this? Mr. Steele.
Brian Steele, 894 West Heather Glen. I'm also the treasurer and secretary for the Woodfield Homeowners Association. Been here the last few weeks listening in, and I just wanted to have a few comments on that. We all understand nobody wants apartments in their backyard, nobody. But you just approved a new subdivision with a new set of multifamily that will be surrounded by single-family homes. Several of you live in Wicklow, which has a huge amount of multifamily housing that is surrounded by single-family homes. That is the way that development is designed to work, and that is the way it is set out in the plans. One of the things that's been brought up a lot is traffic. I have lived there for 15 years, within 1,000 yards of 2 of the largest apartment complexes in the city. There's never been a single crime within our neighborhood. There's never been, or severe crime. There's never been any kind of traffic issues. We all understand Dustin, Pembroke, Butterfield, 14, Rosedale. Those are all going to always be high traffic areas as people come and go from the high school. There's nothing that can be done about that until we get things like the Pembroke extension or the other extensions that are going to take that traffic out to 160 and get it to move out. Oh, sorry, okay. The other thing that's brought up mainly is the stormwater. As the engineer spoke earlier, the stormwater doesn't affect the Woodfield, but it definitely will have an effect on those who live on Ellen. So we didn't have any of the residents from Ellen who came out tonight. That is something we definitely need to look into. Scott, when they had to do the stormwater, definitely needs to look into that because those people, the sinkhole goes into their backyard. So that's something that definitely needs to be looked into. As he said, the water from the road drains into the park, but the water from this property is going to drain away. The main thing that I want to say to you and also to my neighbors is that the PUD is really the best solution for us. As Scott said, they can build 3-story apartment complexes. They can build 4 or 5 24-room or 24 apartment residences on the current R3 zoning. They're not asking to rezone it, they're just asking to extend the PUD so that they can build an more aesthetically pleasing complex with smaller buildings. So we would have the same people that are going to be looking through your back window from these smaller ones are also going to be looking at your back window from the larger ones that are going to be built. This PUD requires them to have amenities, requires them to have the pitched roofs, requires them to have larger setbacks, which will put them farther away from all of their neighbors, which is going to be beneficial not only to the people in those apartments, but also to all of the people in the neighborhood as well. And then also the density. So as Scott said, it's 96. Actually, I think it would be 100 because the PUD would allow them to put 48 on the one smaller lot, and then they could put more on the other. So I think they could probably get up to 100, but 96 is the number Scott had. So this is 81, so it's much less dense, much smaller buildings, much more aesthetically pleasing than what they could do without any comment from the residents or any comment from city council. So just to bring that out there. And then to go back to what Ron had talked about earlier about personal rights. Property rights are personal rights. The owner of that property has purchased it with the correct zoning in place. He has tried to do the best he can to build an aesthetically pleasing and beneficial neighborhood for not only for the neighbors, but also for Nixa. So I think you should all vote yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Pat Austin, 710 West Bryant. And so we're right at the corner where the new Truman Boulevard is going through. And so when we open our front door, we'll see those apartments, the one on the corner right there. We've been in our home for 21 years. When we came, there were cows in the field. There wasn't any developments around us, and we've watched them all come. We're both retired, and I am devastated that our property value will go down because it's something we could have left our children.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else like to speak on this matter? Not, then I will close the public hearing. Anything from council?
You know I'm going to say something.
Go for it.
I've thought a lot about this, and I've kept notes from the last time. And I even told Jared something about it. I'm not against the apartments. I don't like the height of the apartments, especially the ones that are going to be above those people who have property backing up to them. If they were two-story and you could put enough buffer between them, like some big trees or something, I would have no problem with this because I think that's a solution for one area that would help you all with privacy and with just being able to take care of, and the density issue as well. Just so many apartments in that small area is something that is of a concern to me. And as a representative for you people who live in that area, I have a responsibility to vote for what you feel is necessary for you people in the area. So again, if they could just put two-story apartments on the ones that's going to be affected by the view and people right back behind you, no problem with it. They could put three-story on the other ones because there's nobody there that is going to affect. Concerned about the sinkhole, of course, because we have such fun with those when the water comes in them. But I think that's something that they're going to check out and try to mitigate that problem. So just a thought on my end.
Darlene, I understand what you're saying there, but the area's already been approved for three-story.
I know, but that doesn't mean you have to put three-story.
No, they don't have to, but the area's already been approved for that. So what we're looking is to pushing that over to the small area that encompasses the three buildings on this picture.
But they can still put the three-story on the other parts too, though.
Correct, they can.
That's my only concern.
Right, and I'm just saying, they can do that without us voting on this tonight.
I know, but I have to stay my
I understand, I'm
concern.
just making sure you understand that they can still do it whether we approve it tonight or not.
I know. I know.
And I think that's what Mr. Steele was pointing at, is like, you know, at least this way, it's making it more aesthetic, more pleasing, smaller buildings. Yeah, they're still gonna be 3-story, but the third, that 55 foot is to encompass a pitched roof that makes it look like a residential area versus a apartment area.
I got that.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, I think the viewing from the third floor would be the same level, whether it had a flat roof or a pitched roof, right? They can only go so high under what they've set it up as, right? Or, I mean, it's not like the person in a 55-foot building is going to have 3 more feet or a significant better view than a flat roofed house, right?
Typically, no. The 55-foot max building height is actually, I think it would be measured to the middle of the pitch of the roof. So therefore, the third-story windows will still probably be around 40 feet, 45 feet, somewhere in there. So there's not going to be a window 55 feet up in the air.
Right.
They'll still be significantly lower. But again, that is over the regular R3 zoning district of just 35 foot.
Okay.
And just speaking to the density, in your slide, you had what's there now is the 3 at 24 that's in the current PUDR.
The currently approved PUD for Lot 50 has 2 buildings with 24 dwelling units each, so a total of 48 dwelling units on that one lot,
Okay.
which is over the current R3 zoning density, which would just be 44 dwelling units allowed. So there was already an increase for Lot 50.
Yeah, increased it by 10.
All right. Any other questions? Anything else from staff?
To address the sinkhole comments made by the lady first, what she was reading is very similar to our current sinkhole regulations. It reads very similar. Obviously, the first thing that we want to do is avoid or mitigate, but everything that she was saying is currently in our sinkhole regulations. We do require a registered Missouri geologist to evaluate the situation, and whatever their findings are is what we obviously follow. So I just wanted to reiterate that we do follow best engineering practices on that.
Thank you, Mr. Godby. If there is nothing else, I will accept the motion.
So made.
Second.
First by Mr. Lucas, second by Mr. Peterson. Roll call, please.
Kelly Morris. No. Sean Lucas.
Yes.
Aaron Peterson.
Yes.
Darlene Graham.
No.
Zern Vess.
Yes.
Well, and with only 3 yes votes, Council Bill 2023-30 fails. Thank you. Moving on to the resolutions, Resolution 2023-31.
Resolution number 2023-31, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Donaldson Construction for micropaving services. Presenting is Jeff Purcell, Street Superintendent.
Very good, and council. Every year, the street department staff evaluate our city streets and then prioritize those streets for repairs. A lot of the city streets that we have that we do prioritize for those repairs are in good enough shape that a complete mill and overlay aren't needed or feasible for those streets. One way to help those streets that are still in good enough condition is micropaving. Micropaving is a process that is a water-based product that has small aggregate in it. This product seals reflective cracking, stops oxidation on the street, and adds aggregate material back to the roadway. This process can and does extend the life of our city streets 5 to 10 years plus at a third of the cost of what a mill and overlay does. By utilizing a contract through Greene County with Donaldson Construction, Street Department staff are requesting approval to enter into this agreement with a not-to-exceed amount of $314,000 to perform micropaving on some of our various city streets. I do want to bring up that I know that there were some concerns in years past with micropaving. I want to remind council that this is a preservation program, or this is a preventative maintenance product that extends the life. It's not a new asphalt street. It simply prolongs the lifetime of our city streets. So with that said, it is our recommendation to enter into this agreement.
Jeff, is this what they did on Nicholas Road a few years ago that everybody got so excited about?
I'm sorry.
Is this what they did on Nicholas Road a few years ago that everybody got all excited about because it looked like tar with the white gravel on top?
No, the last one that we done was Greg Road out here was the
okay.
the main
I think
one.
you're thinking of chip and
it's-
seal.
it-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
It's
grew up
loud
on Chip and Seal
and-
Road, so I know about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
part of the concern with Greg Road was the size of the aggregate. We've actually decided this year to go with a smaller aggregate on the road so that it doesn't look as fuzzy.
Yeah,
So in time, it will track in,
that's fine.
but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
got the two confused and I apologize.
Any other questions?
Like you said, this will just prolong, so eventually they will have to come back and do mill and overlay sometime, but not,
Yeah, eventually, all asphalt will dry out, it loses its emulsions, and it'll need to be completely removed and new asphalt put down. This simply will extend the life of the roads.
and we won't have to do as much of those sealing of the cracks as we're doing now. Does that kind of help prevent this as well?
Exactly, yeah, part of this product will seal the cracks. It has a healing property to it, so even after the road deteriorates to the point to where you do need a mill and overlay, those initial cracks are still sealed. So it prevents water from entering in and causing trouble with your subgrade.
Anything else? Thank you. All right, we will open up the public hearing.
I think I'm the guy that made the complaints about Greg Road the last time we did the micro paving, i.e. Make it feel like a freshly graded gravel road. We are down to a, what would you call it? A well-compacted graded road now, where it's still a little bit rough, a little bit loud, let you know that the road is there. But yeah, by no means is it you still have a feel of a new road, so I hope that they improve that a little bit. But at least I get the feel of driving down a country road every time I go home.
Thanks. Nothing else. I'll close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Anything else from staff? I will accept the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
First by Ms. Graham, second by Mr. Lucas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Next up, Resolution 2023-32.
Resolution number 2023-32, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa accepting the proposal of Olson Studio to provide professional consulting services related to the city's comprehensive plan and authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract for the same. Presenting is Scott Gobby, Planning and Development Director.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I apologize, I don't have any cool visual aids for this one, but it is an exciting topic. It is our comprehensive plan. The City of Nixa currently utilizes a comp plan originally created in 2003. Typically, obviously, there's been updates to it throughout the years to update maps and general chapters for just census numbers and demographics. Typically, a comprehensive plan can last the community 10 to 20 years. Under normal growth, it can last up to 20 years. Usually when there's significant growth, it's advised to kind of reevaluate or even replace your comprehensive plan at 10 years. We have been using ours since 2003. We have obviously experienced significant growth since that time. So it has been identified as something that we do need to change or update. So as part of the 2023 budget, Council did approve $150,000 for us to go out and get a new comprehensive plan. So in February of 2023, a request for qualifications was sent out, and through those channels, at least 82 firms received our RFQ. When we closed the RFQ period, we only received 2 proposals. That was one by Olson Studio and the other by H3 Studio. After staff evaluations, it was determined that Olson's proposal was the preferred proposal by staff. Since then, we have gone through scope of work, scope of work deliberation. Sorry, I forgot the word, but we went back and forth with Olson on the scope of work as to what we were expecting and what they could provide. So basically, we have come to an agreement, and now it's time for to allow the city administrator to execute that contract. So if you have any questions, I'm available.
Did they provide any examples of other comp plans that they've done in the past?
Yes, they have provided numerous examples of ones that they are currently working on, and then also of ones that have been recently completed, and they are of similar size of Nixa or even slightly larger than Nixa.
Okay, perfect. Council? Thank you, Mr. Godby. I will open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak on this matter. I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Anything else from staff? All right, I'll accept the motion.
So made.
Second.
First by Mr. Peterson, second by Ms. Graham. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. We have anything else from council? All right. Anything else from staff? Or do you have something?
Well, I didn't want to steal Drew's thunder. I don't know if he was going to say anything about the meeting Thursday night.
It's on Tuesday night.
I mean, you've already started. Might as well finish.
The reading of the book Wonder, the One Read, One Nixa, is kickoff event is Thursday night at 6 p.m., I believe, at the Christian County, the Nixa branch of the Christian County Library. So we encourage everyone to come out and participate.
Start reading. All right.
And isn't there a meeting tomorrow night here about the intersection?
Yep.
6:30?
Yes, there's a meeting here tomorrow night here at City Hall for the intersection improvement projects of US Route 160 north of Nixa. So that would be a public meeting. Again, it's not a city-held meeting, it's a MoDOT meeting, but it will be located here.
All right.
Mayor, Council, this Friday, June 30th, the police department is partnering with several other public service agencies and the Nixa School District to hold an active shooter drill exercise at Matthews Elementary School. We wanted to make everyone aware in the public. We will be promoting that through all of our various channels to make sure that no one misperceives or misconstrues that for a real active shooter situation. We will have a lot of emergency vehicles, what appeared to be armed personnel responding to that, just like it would be if it was a real-life event. And so that is from 9 to noon this Friday. So we should see a lot of activity during that time, but we hope to learn a lot about our response and where we can get better and what we're doing right and what we can certainly improve on.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief.
And then I'm going to put Jennifer on the spot. Jennifer, can you give council a quick update on the BSNA?
So today was go live with our new ERP system. And we're working out some things. So our online payment system is up and running now. And the IVR, which is where you can phone in and pay your utility bill, will probably be online tomorrow. So it's not quite up and running yet. But it's going as well as can be expected for a project of this magnitude. And we're very excited. Staff went through training last week. And we will continue to go through training and as we implement. But we're online with BSNA right now, and so it's exciting and scary and but it's a good change, and I think it will really improve some efficiencies and business processes within the city, and that's what we're looking to do. And it's going to provide an opportunity for our customers to really have some more options to pay and to get enrolled in auto pay and just different things like that. So we're looking forward to it. Just asking for some patience because there's still a few bumps in the road to smooth out, but we are working very diligently to make that happen.
Thank you very much. That is exciting.
I think the main question is any pool update from Matt?
I mean, the construction crew showed up last Friday, and we've gotten started, so that's a great, and we're still in progress. And so we're continuing to work with that, and we'll keep you updated as we have more updates.
I get asked every day about it, so.
Yes.
Constantly from people about it.
Couple times.
So when's the possible date opening?
That has not been determined yet.
Well, give me an idea.
NAP holds one.
A week, 2 weeks?
Sorry. When we entered into that agreement, they had allotted for around 8 days.
Okay.
And so we're, day 3 or 4 here? We did work through the weekend, or they did work through the weekend, and so we're continuing to move forward. So
That's
as we
good.
can get a possible opening date, we will definitely get that relayed. We're just not quite to that point that we can get that yet.
Okay.
And thanks for giving up your weekend to help out with that. Appreciate it. Well, if there's nothing else. Meeting is adjourned.